Real quick. Edward, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Stuart, what do you want us to cover? We're about ready to roll. It's officially 12:30, so you know what that means. It's time for our intro to golf fitness coaches call. So if you are here with us from the coaches call, what's up, Dimitri? How you doing, Slick?
Good. How are you?
Hey, what's up? Hi. Congratulations, buddy, on the new Bambino. Boy or girl?
Little girl. And thank you, Marty.
Congrats.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Order you some junior clubs if you're ready. So we'll get that going and make sure that she's in the loop. So congratulations to you.
Appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So I sent you guys out an email a little bit later than I wanted to, but I want some topics for today. So I've got a couple things in mind. Stuart Hinckley is joining us from our spot in Columbus. He was a client of ours when I was just getting started in Columbus, Ohio, at a place called Corazon. It was quite fantastic and met some great people up there. So Stuart, yeah, good to see you joining us here today. So thanks for being here. Feel free to hit us with a message on what you'd like to cover. Dimitri, you had something you wanted me to cover, and you said, so how do we create the financial status to where all we have to worry about is playing golf?
Yes, and nothing more.
And nothing more, right?
Ever again. I don't want to deal with work. I just want to play golf.
There you go. I love it. You know, you get your priorities straight. That's for sure. Tyler, what do you think? What's troubling your game right now? We'll make this an official little coach's call, and we'll just circle around the horn and handle some things, because Tyler and I have an event coming up in a couple of weeks, and we've got to be on point because we really had a lousy showing last time, so we got to step it up this time.
Yeah, so for me, my miss off the tee right now is I'm getting, I don't know if it's stuck behind, but it's trying to almost compensate by turning my hands over too quick, shutting the face, and kind of snap hooking 200 yards off the tee, right? It's just kind of dying in the left side of the fairway. So that's my miss. I don't know what exactly is my issue, but kind of snapping off the tee is what's going on with me. Not to mention all of my chipping and putting problems as well.
We're definitely going to cover some of the short game stuff today, because
I think you want those together.
The ball striking is there, but it's everything else in between.
Everything, got it. So we'll definitely cover some short game stuff today, and we'll talk a little bit about what Tyler's problems are. I think, Tyler, maybe if nobody's told you yet, maybe you should take 2 weeks off and quit. That was an
I think I have taken 2 weeks off. So that's about time I got to get back out there.
But whatever you do, don't quit. You should be enough of a golf junkie at this point to where you will never let it go. All right, so
I'll be back out
a
there
little
next
bit
week.
about what might be going on with Tyler's move, right? If anybody has that particular issue, first thing you need to do is get yourself one of these. This guy, right? That's a driver. It happens.
I'm a year behind.
It's one of their new, yeah, but at least you're on the same team, so you're good, in good shape. One of the biggest issues that we do run into is sometimes people will have a little bit of what we would call early extension. I'll try to give you a down the line view. So of what early extension might look like without knocking stuff over. Early extension is essentially, we are in flexion at address, right? So we flex and then we extend. So as you start to understand that little definition, there might be a little bit of early extension in Tyler's move. So where he's standing up a little too quick, and as a result, getting a little too close to the golf ball. Right? So when you're set up to this golf ball, there's some space right here that you have to swing a golf club. And all the best players in the world, as they get back down here, they actually create more space. And what you might see is they a little bit of squat, rotate, and then they push, giving them more space to get the golf club through the proper hand path. So that can be a bit of an issue. If you're coming in on that golf ball just a little bit, guess what? All kinds of things are going to happen. It's essentially, this is kind of the nerdy way of saying it, but the deceleration pattern in the golf swing from the top of the golf swing happens too soon. So as a result, the hands are just going to release and flip, either because you got the club too far behind you, your arm got stuck back here and you stand up a little bit and the club is going to release, or that you don't have enough rotation. So quite often we like to talk about purifying the rotation a little bit. And a couple ways to help you get there are this driver matrix, okay? So I'm going to walk through what the driver matrix might be and how you should employ it or deploy it in your practice sessions, all right? So here's what we're going to do. In the driver matrix, all I want you to do is hit 4 or 5 shots, let's say 4, at 100 yards with your driver. How do you manage that? Well, it's going to be a very short, compact swing, isn't it? We're going to stay very well connected with the torso, hands, and arms. We're going to stabilize those particular regions so we can really purify the rotation of the lower body and our footwork. Okay, if you have a tendency to hit some of these shots that Tyler might be talking about, that can turn into a two-way miss, because I've seen Tyler, and he can also block it right at China, right along with me. Typically, I hit that one first, and then he says, oh, it looks like fun from over there. So we're both playing from the same spot. Good card call. So you might want to be a little aware of this and pay attention. So in this driver matrix, I want your first swings to be mindful of. You only want to carry this ball 100 yards, 1 to 125 maybe. So what's it going to look like? Well, you're going to set up, get the arms really connected to the torso. You're going to set the club. We call this the short set. We use it in a lot of different places because a lot of times people will get back here and toss the club. We want to help them understand what it's like to hold on to that angle a little bit and rotate through. Now, there's going to be a lot of people out here that have just heard me say, hold on to that angle and rotate through. They're going to say, you're just dragging the handle. There's a big discussion right now on one of these social media platforms. A bunch of coaches are talking about dragging the handle. Well, if someone has this malady of not understanding how to rotate purely, if they focus on simply holding on to that shaft and not letting it release just yet, just yet. You're going to sort out a lot of good body mechanics as a result, okay? And we can debate this and go back and forth, but this is not for everybody. If you have a good release, then maybe this isn't not the right one for you. But the driver matrix, I believe, is, because it's going to help you learn a lot of things. It's going to help you learn how to stabilize the hands a little bit. It's going to help you to understand how to stabilize the club face. It's going to help you understand how to use the lower body and the ground more effectively, so you can start hitting bobs. Okay. So what we'll do here is go ahead and get set up in your golf posture. I want you to set the club. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, cancel that one. Sorry, kids. Decline. All right. So we're going to set the club into that impact position. So it's like rotate through. We always like to see a good bit of a line straight from your armpit all the way down to the golf ball. If you're in pretty good shape there, you're usually going to hit some pretty decent drives. Okay, so with this drill, we're going to start with a regular golf posture, give you that little short set, and then you're just going to turn and hit it. You notice from right there, I didn't do a ton with my upper body. I'm just staying connected. I'm just stabilizing those regions because we're really going to focus on that lower half. Now, through that progression, Stuart's saying, hit one, hit one. I'll walk us through it. I'm going to lift up my toes and my shoes. That's going to create a balance point, and maybe a new point for you. Sometimes people have a tendency to be, one, too far away from the golf ball, and two, they don't understand how to use the balance point between the ball of their foot and their heel, okay? So if you lift up your toes and your shoes, not all the way up on your heels, because that wouldn't be any good either. We're just going to lift the toes up in the shoes and see if we can't find a good balance point. Quite often when I have players do that, they realize, oh, I'm too far from the golf ball. Right, so that can fix a lot of this stuff too. So Tyler, let's check that one out for you. So we're going to lift up the toes in the shoes, get set of that short set, and just go back and through right there. We'll see how far that one carried. I noticed I hit it a little bit on the heel. You can start to feel some of those things as you're going through. The carry was 122 on that one. But the attack angle was up. So if you have access to a launch monitor, you want the attack angle to be up, and you want to have a good club face relationship. That face to path of the club face is like -10. So it's a little bit of a hook. So we're going to set this up again, hold on to that angle, and drive a little bit more with the lower body to see if I can't stabilize that club face a little bit and get that ball to fly a little bit straighter. The more energy we put into the lower half, that's going to help straighten out that golf ball. Straighten out that club face. So Tyler, that may be a little bit of a fix for you. Maybe we're not rotating all the way through that shot. Maybe we're coming in a little bit on our toes, and that's going to get that deceleration pattern to happen a little too soon. And as a result, that club face slams shut on, okay? We might also want to consider you taking the club back a little bit straighter in the backswing and then returning it from the inside. That might be a little bit of help there as well. Now, to finish up the driver matrix, you're going to do this in 4 different spots. 4 different spots. You're going to do about 100 to 125 yard shot, maybe 150 to 175, a 200, and then your full swing. Okay? So as you're going through that process, you're going to be collecting a lot of data. You're going to have a really good understanding as to how to organize your hands to stabilize the club face, okay, through these shots. And you're also going to learn very quickly how to rotate with your lower half and really gain lots of extra speed and power. Then you kind of free that up and just hit the gas. You'll be swinging with better balance, improved contact, and the ball's going to go much further as a result. Okay, so Tyler, I think that's a pretty good roundup for what you were dealing with.
Anything grip,
Matrix,
manipulate the grip at all?
What's that?
Manipulating the grip at all? Would that be
So
potential?
to me, I always want to do that last. If it's really an issue and we can't quite figure it out after half a dozen drives, and then everything's going just left to Tokyo, and we can't sort it out with something a little bit earlier in the chain of events, then we'll go ahead and do that as the last result. Because yeah, absolutely, that's a good point. Quite often somebody will end up with a grip that all of a sudden is like this, and they can't figure out why they're hooking, or they very simply set up with a club face that is very simply, they'll set up
At
the club
address.
at a dress that's shut and you don't even realize it. So to combat that, just set the club on the ground. Set the club on the ground and just let it rest. It's designed to rest on the ground a certain way, okay? So it's not designed to sit up on the toe or on the leading edge like that. Set it down, let it rest, then take your grip and go from there. If you have to make a grip adjustment, let that be the last thing you do just to figure out how you can go out to play, and then reach out and we'll try to work together and get you some kind of assessment to figure out what the real issue is. It's quite often it could be something a little more physical that's either not working or something needs a little bit more attention. So we'll be happy to get after that. Let's see, Mike Schwartz.
Dude,
What would
that's you literally, and you guys just described my exact same issue. It's always that that kind of that low snap hook to the left or the block to the right, where I feel really kind of stuck, where that club is just not getting around. What I'm going to try next time is, I love what you said about lifting the toes, just to kind of create that balance point. Ankle mobility has always been a struggle for me, and I felt like I've had a tough time, you know, when I'm struggling, kind of keeping my weight back. So I'm going to try that.
So check that out. He brought up a good point. Ankle stability can sometimes be an issue. So when we go through our assessment, we put people on unstable surfaces. We'll put them on a BOSU ball and see if they can stabilize on one leg. We also take you through a balance screen to find out what your ankle stability is and can you, what your proprioception is like. Quite often, somebody's had a sprain that they don't even remember. So they didn't even talk about it in their assessment, in their interview. But quite often, some of those issues will plague you years and years and years later. They can be reversed. We can give you some more stability in that ankle. These two guys right here, you actually, wait, there and there. Tyler and Mike can definitely help you with that. And we get you in for an assessment. We can sort some of those things out and put together a program that's really going to help develop some good balance and stability in those ankles. Because if you don't have it there, guess what? That instability in the system, what does that do to your foundation? It's not very good. We want to try to keep all the stable segments stable and all the mobile segments mobile. So again, one of my favorite spots, places where we can really make hay, where we take players. Like last year, we had one of our clients went from an 11 to a 5. We've taken players from like 18s down to, he got mad at me because he was at a 2-3 and he's like, I can't make any money here. My handicap's too low. I need to be playing like a scratch, but and keep that 2-3. So, but he's fantastic and continues to rock and just comes right back out and shot, I think, a 74, 76 first round season, which was quite stellar. So we make it or break it around the greens, right? Our golf swings, our physicalities, our priorities for work and everything else are not always going to be right there in our golf performance or how our body works. So you're going to hit some missed shots. It's okay. Be neutral and objective about the outcome of those shots. Remember them. Remember and understand maybe how to come back and fix them later. But let it go, man. Just let it go because they're not important. The ones that are important are how you recover. So that being said, got this little shot right here. 8 yards, 2 inches downhill, kind of short-sided. I'm in a little bit longer grass. Obviously, in our studio here, we don't have terribly long grass. It's a nice little lie. But what we're going to do with this club to get you out of that particular situation, I think I probably mentioned it almost every time we talk about wedges, is my little get out of jail free card. So when you're playing in those particular situations, get the handle high. When you get the handle high, you notice how there's less resistance here, right? You're taking the heel and the hosel out of play. Now, when you do that, when you take the handle high, we know that loft goes off to the side, whether you're right or left-handed. Obviously, will determine. But as I take the handle up here, we're going to see the loft on this golf club go off to the right. So I don't need to hit it to the right. I just need to toe it in just a little bit so that whatever adjustments I've made to the club face, it is now square. It's going to look silly, but figure it out. Go hit some of these shots. It'll be fantastic, I promise. So here's what it's going to look like. On the front, it's going to be a nice narrow stance, maybe even more narrow than what you would do for your putting. But you're going to walk in closer to it, get the handle higher, turn that in. And we want to make sure our nose is out in front. I have a little drill I call by the nose, or by a nose. So I know the Preakness is coming up this weekend, so you guys will appreciate that. But get your nose out on the front side of that golf ball and keep it there. It's also another fancy way of saying go ahead and keep some pressure on your lead leg. However, I see so many golfers out there that are like, okay, cool, I got my pressure on the lead leg, but I keep hitting them fat and thin. What's wrong? Well, you got to stabilize here. Get that nose out in front, right? Get that nose right out in front of the golf ball. Really focus on a dimple out on the front side of that thing as you're going through this process. Walk in nice and close. Stand up nice and tall. Get that handle higher. Turn the toe in. Get my nose out the front. And then it's very simply like a putting stroke. Just back and through. You know, when it hit too far. So really be mindful of your landing point, right? I wasn't really paying attention to your landing point, but pick a very specific spot you want to land it. When you're practicing, take a dime, throw it out there on the green, and practice hitting that spot. You aim small, you miss small. So get after that one. So I know that for an 8-yard shot, I really only need to maybe hit it to about that golf ball. Let's see what happens. Walk in closer, stand the handle up, toe it in a little bit to get that club face free, my nose out in front, and then just back and through. Look at your spot that you want to hit it to, and then just be athletic and make it happen. That one rolls right up, and guess what Tyler's going to say? Marty, pick it up. That's good. Okay. So, well, he better anyway, because that was really close. All right. So give that a try. Instead of it just going to feel like a putting stroke, get that handle high, and you'll be in pretty good shape for those little tough spots, tough shots around the green. Any other questions? Checking in there. Dimitri, is there anything else you wanted to cover today?
No, not really. I mean, one, I got to go and work on that or record and look at what might be the 3-wood hybrid thing. But if I had to honestly, because foot balance in terms of using the ground
Yes.
is not good, because I mean, I think I have a lot of that early extension or whatever you want, or release thing, where I basically jump out of my shoes, kind of like Bubba, but not, he knows where to go and he can control with his hands and otherwise, but without that, that's what I do. And when I time it all perfectly, it's great. When I don't time it all perfectly, it could be all kinds of things. The problem, especially with the driver for me, is I feel like I have either a great shot, a minor miss, or a disastrous miss. I don't have the, just pushed it, just pulled it a little miss. Like I miss it.
Yeah. Well, that's a big deal for a lot of players. And what we do in those situations, we really want to help you build a better physicality so you can create that stability, learn how to use the ground more efficiently. We use things like the body track, pressure mats, and swing catalyst pressure plates, and have a program set to help you do that better and more efficiently. You just got to spend a little time with it, right? You have to go through that discovery learning phase and sort a couple of these things out. And like I said in that driver matrix, if you lock up the upper half, give them stability, create that triangle with your arm, set that club into a position that you'd like to see it kind of at impact, then lift up the toes in the shoes and figure out how to get it around. And I promise you, you will do better at finding more of the middle of that club face for that driver, like we did a few weeks ago with the swing fast hit bombs session. So we should have some more of these posted on YouTube. Tyler's working on that as we speak. He's giving me the nod right now and says, if you have any other issues, gang, let us know. I think we're going to continue to run these little Friday afternoon spots. So make sure you come back and join us and catch us again on the flip side. Anybody have any questions before we go? If not, be awesome and play well.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Marty.
Thank you. Peace.
Later, guys.
See you guys.
Stuart, great to see you. Thanks so much. Joel, I missed you, buddy. Take care. Be well.
Yeah, I hope to get that cleaned up by the 26th, Marty.
I know we have to, right?
Huh?